And welcome to Expert Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I am talking with David Johnson. David, man, thank you for spending some time with me today.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Excited to be on the pod.
Well, thanks. It's going to be a fun conversation. David Johnson, for those of you who don't know David, David founded a company called Vervent back a few years ago. He's going to tell us about that story. And he's built it into really a worldwide service organization in the financial services world. And we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about some of the leadership principles and practices that he's put in place and he's learned through many years, because we all need to understand how to lead better ourselves, our teams, work with our clients, and serve them. So it's going to be a phenomenal conversation. David, as we get started on this, tell me, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Well, I can tell you it was a long path, Michael. I I spent I was going to say most of my career, but I've been at Bourbon so long now that Bourbon is most of my
That is my
career.
career.
But I started really in management consulting. I was at Bain and Company, I was at McKinsey and Company. And during my time in consulting, I spent most of my time, most of my clients across that time were private equity firms.
Okay.
So I was constantly evaluating acquisitions, mergers. I was helping them fix portfolio companies, a whole host of activities associated with that. I came out of that and went to work for a private equity portfolio company that we quite successfully grew at a rapid rate. It was in the semiconductor industry, and then we wound up selling it to a competitor. It was a great deal, and at that point, I just kind of looked around and said, "Wow, why am I doing this for somebody else?"
Hmm.
So I started looking around for things that I could buy in a kind of, small family office style environment. And it was, not until I had been doing that for a couple of years, made several successful acquisitions, that I really kind of lasered in on the opportunity that created Vervent. And it was 2008, so we were right in the recession. You
Okay.
could
Good
see
year.
that the banking system had, retreated from the market, and there was an opening there. And so I decided to jump in and take it.
I love it. Jump in when the going is good. No, no, when the going gets rough, right? And but so many times from an entrepreneurial standpoint, that's what we need to do is look for those opportunities, have the courage in ourselves to go, okay, I'm going to do this. No, no promises of success. You had success behind you. You saw some things, but you saw an opportunity and you went for it. So unpack for us a little bit. Okay, Vervent. What did you do? What is Vervent? Who do you serve? Let's lay that foundation first, and then we'll talk about some lessons you've learned.
Sure. So, Bourbon is the financial services company. It is, what we would call it is a tech-enabled fintech platform for consumer and small business lending, which, if you're not in the industry, sounds, like a bunch of gobbledygook. But in simple terms, when a bank or a fintech or a specialty lender extends credit to a consumer in the form of a credit card or a loan or a lease or a small business, we're the team behind the scenes that make sure that those loans are serviced correctly. It means that payments are processed, customers are supported, investors get clean, predictable data flows, that kind of thing. And we do that through a combination of what we call primary servicing, backup and successor servicing, capital market support, and customer care operations. That's the nut of what Vervent does. We help lenders and investors in the consumer finance space to grow responsibly.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to put this in my terms and tell me if I'm in the ballpark. Okay. I go out to buy a new mattress, and the mattress and box spring and everything's going to be $3,800. And they've got 90 days same as cash or whatever. They're not financing that. They're using some company, and then you're the back end to that company to make sure all the dots get is that did I get it?
Fair enough.
Okay,
Yeah.
that
It's,
gets me in the
of
ballpark.
course, you can imagine in the financial services industry, there's at least 12 different ways that that transaction can take place, and they're all structured differently. But in a nutshell, yeah.
Okay, all right. So that gets it for my third grade brain. That gets me in the ballpark. I go, okay, I get it, because I think a lot of people think that the betting company is carrying the paper on that, and it's like no, 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 no. They got this whole back end thing and all of that, and that's what Vervent does. Okay, And you built this thing from where did you start? Where was like where were you when you first started Vervent back in 2008? Geographically.
Oh, we were headquartered in San Diego. We're still headquartered in San Diego today.
Okay.
Um, I love San Diego. It's a great
Yeah,
town.
it is.
So, we were living there at the time. It's a great environment. And in 2008, San Diego was hit very hard. So we're
Mhm.
very much living in that kind of great, financial recession
Yeah.
time. And, to me, that's the perfect time to start a business. Times are tough. They're probably going to get tougher. And it really helps you to build something that can really survive a difficult environment.
Yeah.
It's like one of the things that we say around the company is, when you're going through hell, make sure to keep moving.
That's yeah, you don't want to stop for too long.
No, you
But
don't.
it's really good because when you're in a down time, right? A lot of people stick their heads in the sand because they stop. A lot of people don't see opportunity, and it's really a time when industries almost get shooken up enough to go, is there a different way? And you created a different way and you presented something and it lit a fire. Going back to the analogy, it lit a fire that has kept you running for a long time, right?
Absolutely.
So now
I
you're
mean,
bigger than just San Diego.
oh yeah. In our physical locations, we have operations in San Diego, in Portland, Oregon, in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, in Tijuana, and in India, in the Philippines. So we've got, six separate operations now. And of course, we're a remote company. We never did the return to office. We were quite happy being remote. We were pretty remote before COVID ever came and made everybody remote.
Yeah, it
You
I no, I get it. We are a remote team as well in our company, and we love it. And it's
know?
really interesting. We should have you back on building a culture in a remote organization. I think is very fascinating. We have been able to build a phenomenal culture, even though our people aren't in the same building, right? And I know you've done as you've built Vervent, you've had a lot of obviously challenging times. You've had great times, but you're a leader, and you have been able to lay out some leadership principles. As we talk today, I want to unpack a couple of those leadership principles for entrepreneurs because whether
Hmm.
they're going to build a massive worldwide organization or just be in nowhere land Indiana, which is where I was born, we've got to be able to lead people, to hold them accountable things. What are one or two or three of the I guess your core leadership principles that you found to be just true as rain and that have served you and your organization well that an entrepreneur could just grab onto?
Yeah. Let me I have a few different responses to that, as you can imagine.
Oh yeah.
I mean, one is from day one, Vervent was a bootstrap company. We did not take any institutional capital for 11 years after our founding. And
Wow.
so we really built the nuts and bolts of the company, during that time, starting off in the recession.
Yeah.
And I would say that, one, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, it's all on you. And it feels like it's all on you too, but you've got to build a company that can take a punch and get back up. You've
Mm,
got to eliminate those single points of failure that, especially when you're a smaller company that you have. One thing can't be allowed to bring down the entire company.
yeah.
And having said that, over time, we've developed some kind of cultural touch points at Vervent, which have been really handy. And, when you listen to CEOs talk about culture, often they've hired a consultant and they've
Right.
consultant has come in and told you what your culture is. But ours are really just they've emerged over the years in a more organic sense.
Mm-hmm.
And they're simple things like number one is comfort with discomfort. So, and what this really is if you're not comfortable having an uncomfortable conversation or
Yeah.
being in an uncomfortable situation, you probably need to find somewhere else to work or you need to get comfortable, because we're just not going to avoid those uncomfortable conversations. We're going to bring them to the forefront. We're going to have them right now. Another one would be um, action in the face of uncertainty.
Mm,
The future's uncertain. You don't know what's going to do. You can't freeze like a deer in the headlights. You've got
yeah.
to move ahead. And you may need to course correct, but you need to take action in the face of uncertainty. And a third one would be learn by doing. which is just that, we may not know how to do something, but we're damn well going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out by doing it.
Yeah.
And it's those kind of, they're very practical, very kind of, common sense type of things that have really driven the company forward and allowed us to scale in this manner.
Yeah. And that's so good. And I love that you used the word that is the bane of my existence right now is scale. So I don't know if you're around small, medium-sized businesses, but if you go on the internet anywhere, it's like, we're going to help you scale to be a 7, 8, 9, 10 figure business. And I'm always sitting here going, no, you're not. Because the business owner doesn't have the systems in place. And it
It's
drives
very
me,
true.
it just drives me batty because you've got to have I was in a coaching program years ago and the guy built two or three or four or five, $1 million businesses, and he's like, Michael, you got to have systems and then people and then resources for those people. He's like, you build the systems first, and then you find the people to run the systems. And he's like, so many times people get that backwards, and they don't scale, and they hit their head against the wall because they don't have systems. You can have great people, but if there's not a system in place or something, and I've kept that with me for years to go systems. McDonald's, whatever, they all run on systems, and it's being able to be uncomfortable at the beginning and say, here's how we do things, bringing people on and going, yeah, this is going to be uncomfortable. And oh, by the way, as you're training and learning our systems, we're going to have some hard conversations. But it's okay. We love you. We want you to excel, but you can't go hide in the bathroom all day, right? Just talk about some of those practical outlanes of helping your team members, your management team communicate to the rest about these principles and how does it actually play out?
Wow, that's a lot of questions
I
built into
know
one
it.
statement there. Man. Let me just on the we started out with like a kind of company design,
Yeah.
statement at
Yeah.
the beginning of that around systems. And in my world, like when I look at companies and I've looked at thousands of them, um, me on one end of the spectrum of systems and people dependency is McDonald's, right? Everything or whatever fast food chain, everything is a system. You could
Yeah.
take someone, slot them in there, minimal training, boom, done, productive, right? And then on the other end of that spectrum is McKinsey and Company,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like it takes a long time to train a McKinsey and Company consultant to add value, to be a working cog in the machine. You've got a lot of knowledge and a lot of investment in that one person. And most businesses are in between there somewhere. You've got to have the appropriate level of systems for whatever your business is. If your
Yeah.
business is, like ours, highly complex and highly regulated, especially highly regulated, then you need to have systems in place. For instance, we've been a user of AI for a long time. We've been using AI for about a decade now. And one of the things that we use it for is whenever we have any kind of interaction with a customer, someone maybe holds a credit card and is calling about something, all of those are completely reviewed by an AI, right? You want to make sure that every single one of those is compliant. And that's a system that you simply can't replicate with people. With
Yes.
people, you might be able to sample 1 or 2% of these things, but you need to have a system that will actually like do that entire thing.
Yeah.
So we very much try and design our level of systems and the systems themselves around these complex, highly regulated needs that we have in our environment. And, along those same lines, earlier I said we're a tech-enabled company. We're not a technology company.
Mm.
We don't aspire to be a technology company. We wouldn't be good at it. We know what we're good at, and we're good at processes and systems and being tech-enabled. Writing software, yeah, we write software just like everybody else, but it's not our core focus.
Right. Yeah. And I love because on your website you talk about how you serve your clients at a faster rate than anybody else. Part of that is the technology that you use to do that, the AI aspect of it. And I love the fact that you've been using AI for a decade because I think everybody thinks AI was created, 3 or 4 years ago. And it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
it's been around forever. Um,
Yeah.
so don't anyway. Um, but the other aspect of growth and scaling and all that is not just the technology, but it's the leadership. I'm going to call it the leadership DNA that's inside of you and your team to say, no, we are going to be. comfortable with being uncomfortable because we are always going to be pressing the envelope. We're not satisfied with where we are today because there's more, there's better, and there's a future out there that we're going to go conquer for the good, right? Is that unpack that because you I look at you and I hear you and I find this guy who is just you've got a passion. You birth Vervent. It's your baby and it serves so many people so well. That comes back to you and the way you've communicated your leadership style and brought a team together. Talk about how you do, how has that happened?
A lot of that is very, very informal. I would say that issue in particular, where Vervin is hungry, and it's always been
Mm,
hungry. I myself am like pretty relentless in driving it forward. And
mm,
there's a bit of self-selection. People who are willing to work for Vervin or work for me is they're also hungry and they also have this like need or desire, compulsion to drive it forward. One of the things that I used to say this, I don't say it anymore, but I always thought it was good, which is like if you want to work for a great company, maybe you should go somewhere else. But if you want to build a great company, you come work right here.
oh, I love that.
And we're always in the midst of building that great company. And we pass that down through the hierarchy, through the ranks, and we get some really tremendous, high performing people who are just hungry all the time and want more.
Yeah.
And that's to me, that's the greatest growth engine that Verbant has right there.
Yep, absolutely. So you're building in a sense, and maybe this is a good analogy, you're not an Olympic team because you look at Olympic athletes and they all have that drive, right? They better. If that's the only way they get at that level. And whether they're individuals or teams, they're there. And it takes a lot to get on that team, but when you're there, it's like, let's go, right?
Yeah.
And
No, that's exactly right.
and
It's a very powerful motivator, and Vervant very, very much cares about, its people.
yeah.
And those two things go hand in hand.
It's interesting. They do. High achieving and care for people do go hand in hand. And I think a lot of people from the outside don't see that. They see the high achievers who are just going after it. And maybe it's movies. I don't know. They've given high achievers a bad rap. But you get around people like you and you realize your heart is there. And you realize the people are the DNA of the company. And when you put it out the way you did it, you want to work for a good company, go somewhere else. You want to build a great company, come here. And that's how you hire, that's how you find great people. John Maxwell years ago did a cassette tape for he was teaching pastors about hiring and finding good pastors on their team. And he did a talk and it was called Searching for Eagles. And he said,
Mm.
eagles fly by themselves. Turkeys gather together. He's like, you don't want turkeys on your team. I want an eagle. And dude, I heard that message 40 years ago.
It's
Vervent,
quite memorable.
it
That's a good
totally
one.
is.
I like that. I
But
like it.
Vervent is a company of eagles led by an eagle. And I love, I mean, we could talk for hours, David. You and I can just dive into
Absolutely.
this, but um as we talk, all right, so let's start winding this thing up, right? What do you want our audience to understand about Vervent, about leadership, about business? What is it that we could take and extract from you that would be just
Hmm.
on your heart?
I would say a few different things. One, on the business side, like, for the clients that we serve, it's a relatively small group. We're a B2B company, and we serve credit funds, banks, credit unions, originators of loans. When you get to that point where you're growing your portfolio or, whatever your financial services product is, and you've gotten to the point where it's becoming increasingly complex, the cost of a regulatory misstep is high, and
Mm,
you need a partner who can really help you strap a rocket pack onto that growth. Then, we're the company that steps into those situations that are extremely difficult. And it's what we're known for in our industry. We will step in and take situations that are in the headlines. We'll take situations where it's, new product launches that are critical to a company's success, and we'll make successes out of those situations. And, on the leadership front, it's a lot of it is the same thing. We'll take whatever situation, we'll make a success out of it. We will grow into it. We will learn how to do it if we don't already know how to do it. And one of our other touch points is always, we do what we say we're going to do. And it's
Mhm.
important at Verve. Among these other things, if we say we're going to do a thing, then we damn well do that thing.
Yeah,
And that's been a very powerful motivator and a very powerful factor in being able to organize and, keep this large group of, very skilled professionals, productive and happy and, and learning and moving forward.
that's awesome, man. And that, yeah, being a man of integrity, being a man of your word, being a company of your word, um, is huge, especially in today's day and age, right? And well, there's a whole episode right there about the process of decision making that has to be in place for you to be able to say, if we say it, we're going to do it. So let's make sure we are doing our due diligence, make sure we've got everything
Yeah.
aligned, that we don't get into a situation where we messed up.
We, for our clients, we generally are handling three things. We're handling their customers, their data, and their money. And those are the three most important things for any company. So the level of trust
Oh,
that, we have among our clients is extremely high, and the level of integrity that we need to have in order to live into that trust is also extremely high.
absolutely. Wow. We're gonna end there, and I really encourage our audience to just pause and go back and rewind this thing about 8 or 10 or 12 minutes and just re-listen, because you're going to hear things from a different perspective now. Because what David has shared, not just in the journey of his company Vervent, but in the leadership, the integrity, the way they attract team members, and the way they hold integrity with their clients. It will change your business. It really will, and it will help you stand out in a very cluttered space, because I think clients are hungry for companies like Vervent and people like David Johnson. So, brother, thank you for being my guest today. This has been an intriguing, a fun conversation, and I wish you the best. And how do people find you or Vervent? Where would they go if somebody's like, this is I need more. I want to learn more.
It's very simple. It's vervent.com, vervent.com. And Michael, thanks so much for having me on the pod. I love it. It was a really enjoyable conversation.
Thanks, David. I appreciate it. Go to vervent.com. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to have that in the show notes for you. So re-listen to it and go see what you can learn from Vervent, how they might be able to serve you, but what you can learn from hanging around David a little bit. All right. Thanks for listening to Experts Speak. I appreciate it. Tune in next week for another great episode. Take care. God bless.
Bye, Michael.